There's a change to the schedule tonight here on BBC One Wales. Louise and Rodri come to the rescue in X-Ray at 10:35. That's followed by Jack D live at the Apollo at 11:05. Film 2005 at 10:12. And the late film, The Garden of Redemption, at 12:20.
Lost and found, a very British Olympics. The last London Olympics. Cool, a bit basic. Athletes brought their own sandwiches, made their team kit and stayed in old prisoner of war camps. Here and ready to watch.
A very British Olympics, part of the lost decade. Find it tomorrow at 9 on BBC 4.
Now on BBC One Wales, the 10 o'clock news with Dermot Murnaghan in London and Jamie Owen in Cardiff.
Protecting Britain from a terrorist attack from the skies. The RAF crews on permanent standby, ready to scramble at a few minutes' notice. Their job to shoot down hijacked passenger aircraft on the orders of a senior cabinet minister. The 10 o'clock news has been given exclusive access to the teams monitoring the thousands of planes that enter British airspace every day. Also tonight, as bird flu is detected in Greece, Britain says it's well prepared to deal with the threat. Which one will go? MPs vote tomorrow after the Conservative leadership candidates make their pitches. And Joanne Lees faces the man accused of murdering her boyfriend in court in Australia.
In Wales today, the curtain goes up on a £30 million waterfront museum in Swansea. And a community comes to a standstill to remember 5-year-old Mason who died from E. coli poisoning.
Good evening. Shooting down a hijacked passenger plane has, since the attacks of September the 11th, been a stark option facing those fighting terrorism in Britain. At any time in the UK, the crews of 4 RAF Tornado fighter jets are ready to scramble and shoot down a plane being used as a terrorist weapon. It's a last resort, and any decision to do so will be taken by the Prime Minister or a senior cabinet minister. Many details of the RAF operations are classified, but the BBC 10 o'clock news has been given unprecedented access to the teams, witnessing how they're trained to react at a moment's notice. Our special report is by Brian Hanrahan, who spent time with the Quick Reaction Alert crews of RAF Coningsby in Lincolnshire.
The pilot will be doing the walk around. I will normally get in the jet and I'll align the navigation system. They'll be checking the weapons. We'll check the radios, we'll check the communication systems.
This is the Q, the RAF fighter crew on Quick Reaction Alert. They're checking their aircraft so it can take off instantly to challenge and shoot down any plane that poses a terrorist threat to the United Kingdom.
With all of that kit checked and ready to go, that now means that we don't have to do that on the scramble. We're fairly close to London, and therefore the most obvious choice to launch and protect the capital.
Yeah, right.
The crews live and eat in quarters next to the hangars for 24 hours at a time. This unit arrived at RAF Coningsby in Lincolnshire the day after the September the 11th attacks on New York. It's been here every minute of every day since.
Aircraft weapons fit is standard, lens GPS, no issues there. I'm aware of anything from Q1's aircraft. OK, guys, you have it.
Thank you very
much.
Once the new watch takes over, they'll even sleep in their waterproof suits. It saves seconds if they have to scramble.
Second lost comms, 1364.
Where is he?
OK, north-northwest of Valley.
At fighter control, they have a genuine alert. An airliner is out of contact.
No comms for 5 minutes. It's on a 1364 score from Hamburg to Newark.
Thank you. Here, in an old Cold War bunker, sophisticated computers and radar feeds from around the country scan Britain's crowded air lanes.
As far as I can see, is
the RAF's master controller wants more details and warns his fighters to stand by.
Another one. Stand by.
2172.
Second lost comms, score 2172. Continental 103.
While we're filming, a second plane loses contact. The tension notches up.
Second lost comms is Continental 103.
Any decision to destroy an airliner would be passed from here to the top of the government. The most senior of a small group of cabinet ministers can be patched into the command circuit within minutes.
Comms regained.
But within seconds, communication with both planes is established and everyone stands down. It all happens frighteningly fast.
You never know where the threat's going to come from. It could be any of those aircraft out there. And there are thousands flying above the airspace of the United Kingdom every minute of every day.
And at the end of the day, you have to have the capacity to take one down if you had to do it.
If we were ordered to do so, that's exactly what we'd do.
It's that serious, it's that real?
It's that serious.
The pilots are constantly updated over a tannoy.
QRA, acknowledge.
They can expect to scramble about once a month. Encounters with airliners are always tense.
We climbed right up next to him, and it just went on and on and on to the next stage of warning, next stage of warning, next stage of warning. And the heart was starting to really get pounding then. I was like, well, this guy's not actually chatting to anybody. Then he just decided that he, as part of his flight plan, he was going to turn left, and it just so happened that we were up next to his cockpit on the left-hand side. And as he obviously decided to look out the window, turning left, he probably got a bit of a surprise, because he turned right rather sharpish.
The Q crews practice regularly to keep up their reaction times. It's an adrenaline-charged sprint, unchanged since the Battle of Britain. And they have exactly the same aim: to get combat aircraft armed and airborne, ready to face an instant threat. Their target is to launch a Tornado fighter within 10 minutes. They reckon to beat it regularly. Their first task would be to get alongside a suspect plane and become the eyes of the decision-maker. Then, if needed, his finger on the trigger. They live with everybody else's nightmares.
Nobody wants to be called upon to do your act for real. You hope that the deterrent is adequate enough. However, if faced upon to do it for real, then I would have to live with that. That is why, as part of my job, I'm in the military, that is what you would have to live with. Probably could be hard to live with, but you would have to live with it.
The fighters are weapons of last resort, fed by intelligence and backed up by a huge counter-terrorism operation on the ground.
This is a weapon that the government hopes will never have to be used, but it does show that the RAF has the capacity to intercept airliners and the determination to shoot them down if the worst comes to the worst.
The fighters are highly visible. They're intended to deter any terrorists thinking of staging a September the 11th style attack. Brian Hanrahan, BBC News, RAF Coningsby.
And tomorrow, Brian Hanrahan has an exclusive report on the new Typhoon fighter, which is being brought into RAF service to strengthen Britain's air defences. Greece has become the latest country to confirm that it has an outbreak of bird flu. Further tests are being carried out to see if it's the strain of the virus that can kill humans. Here, the Health Secretary, Patricia Hewitt, said Britain was one of the best prepared countries in the world to deal with the virus. David Shukman reports.
They're trying hard to stop the virus, but it just keeps advancing. Romania declared the outbreak under control, so did Turkey. But then more birds were found dead, and more countries have declared that they too may have cases of H5N1. Greece is the latest. But with millions of wild birds on the move with the autumn migration, Croatia and Bulgaria are tonight also carrying out tests. Wild birds are now the focus of international attention, especially those that migrate over thousands of miles. It's suspected that many of them can carry the virus H5N1, which is why keeping track of them is our first line of defense. In Germany, the authorities in Bavaria have become nervous, and today they've closed their poultry markets. At the moment, the virus is a bigger threat to birds than to people. No one has caught it in Europe, but that could change. A team of senior British scientists warned this afternoon that the virus could easily mutate. They're going to Asia to investigate. It's infected around 100 people there, and the fear is that's the tip of the iceberg, that countries like China could have far more cases than we've heard about.
There's a real risk the Chinese authorities don't know the full picture. It is very difficult to provide proper, complete surveillance in such a vast country. In fact, that's one of the things that the group will be looking at.
With concern mounting, the government is under pressure to act. It has ordered 14 million doses of the drug Tamiflu, which may help people who are infected. But in the Commons, opposition MPs challenge the government's planning. Ministers say they're ready.
We are one of the best prepared countries in the world when it comes to ordering and stockpiling antivirals that will not, of course, prevent somebody getting pandemic flu, but which will undoubtedly help to moderate its severity and therefore to save lives.
But the threat of a bird flu pandemic is rattling nerves across Europe. In Italy, sales of chicken have dropped 40%, even though every expert says it's safe to eat. Fears, justified or not, are bound to grow as the virus draws closer. David Shukman, BBC News.
The four candidates for the Conservative leadership have appeared before Tory MPs to set out why they should lead the party. David Davis, David Cameron, Kenneth Clarke and Liam Fox are in the running for the first vote tomorrow, when one of them will be knocked out. Our political editor Nick Robinson is at the House of Commons. Nick.
Well, once again on this corridor, Tory MPs have seen the contenders for office. They've heard them, but as yet no one has conquered. The sense here is of a party collectively scratching its head, knowing what the problem is, but quite unsure who the solution is.
He's William Hague, who can communicate on television with hair and with attitude.
That was David Cameron he was talking about, and this is New Style Tory democracy, an undecided Conservative MP who's invited local people, some Tories, some not, to help him make up his mind.
The only person that's going to get us in and into government is Ken Clarke.
David Cameron is the person who's going to bring the young people back.
The local MP has a problem. He's a friend of David Davis, but his meeting wants either Clarke or Cameron.
There is no perfect candidate as it stands today, and that's why the choice is so difficult.
It is quite a dilemma facing Tory MPs tomorrow. Do they say back Ken Clarke, who, like his campaign headquarters, has been tested over time, makes a big impression, but on the other hand is, well, just a little old? Or will it be David Cameron, who, like his campaign headquarters,